That's why, like, even the GNR, when they put out that acoustic thing, it showed how talented the band was on the songwriting.
Is Izzy was exceptional, a really first-rate rock and roll writer, and he had that great street vernacular that he would put into the lyrics, that just made the songs incontrovertible. I loved his writing.
I do. I love the Juju House. I loved all the stuff he's written, and you could see the writing is gone with the newer stuff that G. I'm not disrespecting GNO for what they do. You know, everybody gets older. We change, but the writing is definitely not the same that
Yeah.
what it was, and the songs are
Oh,
just not. They don't hold up. They don't hold a candle to what it was.
well, I mean, it's something I've said a number of times, and it drives the Axel cult nuts. But as far as I'm concerned, it was Izzy's fucking band.
In the hot seat, former Guns N' Roses manager, Mr. Alan Niven.
He was the core and the center of it for me. That's not to say that Axel didn't have the most extraordinary voice, could write a really significant lyric of his own, could play a piano. He's got his skills as well, but within that chemistry, I identified Izzy as the one element that was absolutely critical.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like a Simon and Garfunkel thing when you think about
Yeah,
it, how it
yeah.
works, how those two
Yeah.
cats work together. The blend was good. It was a good mix. It was a
Well,
definitely, yeah.
the tragedy is, and I've had this conversation somewhere else recently, but and it's something that I've never really talked about much. But when it comes down to GNR, the first crack is losing Stephen because Stephen could swing. And they've never had a replacement for Stephen who has the ability to swing. Stephen is not the best drummer in the world, good Lord. But his sense of pride and enthusiasm and joy of being in that band was so powerful that it informed his feel. And that, with the swing, was what made Appetite sound like Appetite. Um,
Hmm.
the second crack, and to me, it's like, well, it's a different issue now. Is losing Izzy.
Are you thrilled?
Yeah, very excited.
How excited are you?
I'm into it. Oh, it's
Never a dull moment with Guns N' Roses.
I mean, that was the stupidest thing to happen. Was to lose Izzy. How the fuck do you lose Izzy? Um, you know, I don't think we've discussed this before, but Peter Paterno had been the band's counsel, and he was leaving his law firm to go to Disney to start Hollywood Records. So there had to be a replacement for Peter. And Peter obviously wanted me to keep the band with the firm that he had been in. And he had a recommendation. And he recommended this girl called Michelle Anthony. Michelle, apart from being in that firm, which was a major firm, had a little bit of history to her DNA. Her father was D. Anthony. And D. Anthony, we go back to Frampton and we go back to Stevie Marriott, probably some other things. And given I had Peter's recommendation, I was enamored of the idea of having a woman in a significant role within the environment. I mean, because I used to love her, so maybe there's a little bit of accusation of misogyny there. I thought it would be healthy to have a female lawyer. and have their input and their influence with the band. I didn't do my research as best I could, because if I'd scratched the surface of Dee Anthony, that would have changed my mind. But anyway, I thought she'd be good. We were having a dinner one night in a restaurant that had purple walls, and it was down Santa Monica. I don't know if you knew it or remember it. And I asked Doug to be a gentleman and drive her home. Well, he starts bragging that he took her home and was intimate with her. And I remember well what I said to him. I said, "You keep your fucking pen out of the company fucking inkwell.
Wow.
That is not good." And I thought that was it. But basically, it was her and Goldstein who plotted to get rid of me and supported Axl in his weekly, "I'm going to get rid of Niv" attitude.
Mm.
So, you know, did she call me once and say, "This is going on, you've got a problem"? No, she decided that she and Doug would become the power couple. And that would be it. Get rid of me, and he manages the band, and she's the lawyer, and they're the power couple. Well, that worked out pretty well, didn't it? What did we get from 1991? An album of punk covers and an Axl solo record. Well done, Doug and Michelle.
And what happened to Doug? Didn't last for him, did it?
Oh, he was there forever, because he was just the butler, I suppose. But, he was there for what, 15 years all told?
Was he there that long?
Yeah. And then he got bumped, and they brought in, what was it, a guy called Merck, and Azoff tried to manage them for a while, and Doc McGee signed up for a while.
Right.
None of them could prevail productively.
Then the maid took over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's such a crazy story.
Yeah.
But just think about that. Hold that thought. Just for me, an outsider that doesn't know all the inside. Okay. A maid. There's no business degree, no management skills. There's no A&R skills. There's no music. How do you jump in and manage one of the biggest entertainers in the world and get his trust?
Trust, or allow him control. Because, when people say Axl had trust issues, I tend to differ. I think he always had control issues. At least that was my experience of him over a period of 5 or 6 years. It was about control with him. And he had a horrific childhood,
Mm-hmm.
as is accepted history. So the maid also had her daughters and sons involved. So he has a family there that he didn't have before. There's always the interesting perception that people who form rock and roll bands come from incredibly dysfunctional backgrounds. And in their rock and roll band, they're trying to create their perfect family. And of course, with all rock and roll bands, if they succeed, the dysfunction gets unpacked and the band falls apart at some point. But she provided family. And my understanding was that she turned around to him and said, "No more managers. They're all just trying to get you to put the band back together." And at that period of time, Axl wanted total control. And total creative control is called a solo career. And that's what he was doing. So it all obviously felt comfortable and made sense to him that he didn't have anybody up his ass going, well, if you get Slash back, and if you get Duff back, and if you get Izzy back, then we can all make lots of money. So he went through his solo career. And once he got Slash and Duff back, then the promoters said, okay, we'll put up a guarantee of $3 million per show.
There you go. Now moving forward, they got another new drummer. They got rid of the other guy. Somebody
Well,
that
he
played
was
with
there
Duff.
for a damn long time too.
Frank was there for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like over maybe between 12 to 19 years, something like that. Crazy.
Yeah, he was there for a very long time. In fact, he started in basically what was Axl's solo band.
He was a solo band, which I remember when Steven Adler, actually genius, Steven goes, I don't know why he's calling it Guns N' Roses. He should call it War, W-A-R, his initials. And I go, wow, that'd be kind of a good name for the band, because that's what it was. It wasn't Guns N' Roses.
Well, except for the fact that there was a fucking brilliant band called War.
I know.
And the Cisco Kid.
The Cisco Kid
is one of my favorite ditties. I mean,
but maybe they could have called it William Axl Rose and then use out. You know what? I guess you're right now. I didn't even think about it, but yeah. All right, forget Steven's ideas. There I go, trusting Steven. But it would have been a great something like that. That's all we have time for today, but don't worry, Alan will be back. But in the meantime, you can pre-order his new book, Sound in Fury, Rock and Roll Stories by Alan Niven. And always, you could catch our episodes right here in our members only club, unedited. Now post your comments down below and click on your screen, subscribe, hit that notifications tab, and who loves you, baby? We do. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate you being here. Now get out of here, you crazy kids.